Happy, we in? Happy Social Media Day from the US, Canada, and Australia. I'm Teresa Anderson. I'm head of marketing for AgoraPulse in this part of the world. And you've seen our teams today celebrating from all over the world. We've kicked off Social Media Day from Paris, Berlin, London, and now we're here. And I am so glad to have you here. We've got such a great hour to spend with you. If you're here, I want you to shout out to us from the comments. Let us know where you're celebrating Social Media Day from, what you're doing. I know there are events going on all around the world. We've got teams spread out all over, taking advantage of this wonderful opportunity to be together, to celebrate you, to celebrate this industry that we love so much. So thank you. Thank you for being here. So this is a super special day for AgoraPulse because it's not just a chance to celebrate the industry, celebrate all the wonderful things that happen on a day-to-day basis out there in the social media world. It's also an opportunity to celebrate the work that you do. I know that every single day you bring professionalism and creativity and your very best work to what you do, and that deserves to be celebrated. So as a way to kick off this time together, I just want you to take a few minutes and reflect on your successes personally and professionally over the last year, all the campaigns and contents that you did that made you super proud, all the talent of your team, and just take a moment and think, wow, you did great work this year. There's lots to be proud of and so much to celebrate today. So thank you, and thank you for being here. So AgoraPulse has accomplished a ton ourselves in the last year. We've launched new features and we've joined new conversations. And one of the things that we've done over the last year that's super exciting is we've built this relationship with a new community that's called the Social Pulse community. And if you haven't already checked it out, you got to do it. Put it on your to-do list. It is a great place to connect with other social media professionals. You can share ideas. You can learn from what they did wrong. You can learn from what they did right. And you can also make really important professional connections because that's how things get done in this world, by relationships. So this is your moment. Get in there, jump in, check out the Social Pulse community as a way to not only shoot off your career, but also a way to level up your skills. Because one of the great things about Social Pulse community is their academy. And it's a great free resource for anybody who wants to advance their career. And there's a ton of mastermind groups. It doesn't matter where you are in your career, if you're just starting out or if you're an owner of an agency, there's a mastermind group for you. So we're going to run a little video, give you a little bit more information about that. And then afterwards, we're going to meet back here and we're going to talk about some of the other exciting trends and tools that AgoraPulse is working on that's going to help launch you into this next year with all the tools you need to be successful. So roll that beautiful B-roll, and here we go.
The AgoraPulse community team is excited to announce Social Media Pulse, your one-stop destination for the skills and connections you need to become a better social media manager than you were yesterday, whether it's your first day on the path or whether you just gave a keynote at an industry event. Social Media Pulse includes interactive multimedia content, collaborative forums, mastermind groups, and career-enriching resources, complete with a new twist on learning. Social Media Pulse Academy will be your trusted destination for cutting-edge, thorough lessons and continuing education courses suitable for beginners and advanced learners. Crafted by expert social media educators, our courses will offer verifiable certifications reviewed by industry leaders. Learning will come full circle in dedicated user groups and discussion forums, where learners can collaborate and engage directly with instructors and other community members. In addition, the community will feature a job board with positions from across the industry where you can apply your newly learned skills. You'll be in good company. We're bringing together social media managers from around the world in every industry and every role with our Social Media Pulse masterminds. Got a question? Need advice? Want someone to compare strategies with? Our masterminds are designed so you'll be able to connect with people like you. You'll find groups for agencies, consultants, businesses, nonprofits, government and education, and more. As part of Social Media Pulse's mission to be a singular location for all a social media professional's needs, we're constantly working to provide a broad array of valuable content from a variety of voices across the industry. Our content ranges from how-tos and personal stories to strategic insights and everything in between. You'll find the latest social media news, algorithmic explainers, even tips on maintaining your mental health in the fast-paced world of social. Contributors from all over the globe at all phases of their social media careers will share their own unique experiences and perspectives. We'd love to hear your stories too.
Welcome back, Social Media Day. I'm here with some of my friends that are team members of mine from AgoraPulse. We're going to jump right in and start talking about some of the important tools and trends that you're going to use to be successful in the next few years. But I wanted to remind you again, Social Media Pulse is there for you. It's a resource. Check it out. I've seen some great conversations in there. I go into the community often just to get a pulse on what's going on in our industry and listen to the different voices and the different experiences. So highly recommend that. We're going to transition now. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff we've got coming up. Part of that is just this realization of how much the industry has changed just in the last 5 years, but especially if you think about the fact that social media and Facebook even didn't exist just 20 years ago. So given the fact that we are such this beautiful, exciting new industry, and we're growing at an incredible rate. And with that growth comes growing pains. And it's up to us and it's up to you to stay current on all the things that are happening. And this discussion is going to be part of that. Right now, social media is poised for tremendous growth. I saw this stat, it blew my mind. 58% of the world's population today is on social media, which is just boggling. If you think about the number of people who have power, probably coincides almost exactly with the people that are on social media. It is absolutely everywhere. And it's not just people going onto social media to have conversations with their friends. They're on there doing business. And that's where this gets interesting. That's where this conversation takes a turn. 958 billion in commerce in 2022 on social media. 2.9 trillion with a T is going to happen in 2026, 3.3 trillion in 2028. And with all that money focused on social media, it's just a matter of time before businesses that are investing in social are going to want to see a return on that investment. And that's where our conversation is going to start today. The data that you're going to need to fuel all that commerce, to fuel all those business discussions is available. And we've got some exciting conversation starters that, to have with you to open up this conversation in the industry. So very excited today that as part of this discussion, we're going to have Daryl Prale. He's our CMO, super smart guy, expert marketer. He has such a great perspective on this. I'm so excited to introduce it to all of you. And I'm excited to listen. I always like to hear when Daryl starts to talk about business and about marketing. He's a wonder. As my coworker tells me, he's famous. So, but before he joins us, we're going to have a little short video where Daryl's going to kind of introduce this idea of measuring social media as a valuable business metric that goes beyond engagement, takes us to a whole new level where we can start to integrate our social media activities into really relevant business data. So take it away.
I saw a Gartner post the other day. The number 2 spend by marketers, social media. Number 1, pay-per-click. So that got me thinking, I can measure everything on my pay-per-click results. I have no idea what's going on in social media. And when I talk to my marketing colleagues, my CMO colleagues, they don't either. We did a quick study. We had our data analysts study 10 million posts, not including Instagram. Of those 10 million posts, we knew that 3.4 million had links. It could be a link back to a piece of content, it could be a link back to a product. And of those 3.4 million that had links, only 64,000 actually used UTM codes. You and I both know you need the UTM codes to track it. That means 1.8% of the posts were actually trackable. Said another way, 98.2% did not track a damn thing. If you're not tracking it, you cannot know how your leads are converting. You cannot know how your website visitors are impacting your revenue. You cannot attribute revenue to your social media spend. Stop treating social media like a tactic, like a brand. Start treating social media like the next vehicle to get you to that next position. It's going to drive results in today's uncertain economy. You need to measure social ROI. My name's Daryl. I'm with Agorapulse. You take care.
Okay, here we are.
The beauty of pre-recorded video, Teresa, is they can make even me look not bad. But we're live. This is awesome. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Man on the street talking social ROI. You had me. I'm hooked. I can't wait to hear.
So for those who are wondering, I get asked often, like, so where was that shot? In fact, the question I had asked you today was, so Daryl, why were you in the park when you're shooting that video? And I love that we get questions like that. That was produced by my good friend, Nathaniel. And Nathaniel, for those who don't know, Nathaniel is right now producing this show that you see. So when that one shot we just went to where Teresa left the screen, that's because Nathaniel knew I was talking about him and he wanted to make sure all of you heard me mention his name over and over again. But yeah, that study, Teresa, that study was interesting. All those stats, I mean, 10 million posts, not counting Instagram. And we saw, was it 98.2% of those posts were not tracked. Now, I'm just going to be honest with you. The CMO in me, the chief marketing officer, is freaking out because, I mean, just speaking candidly, when I'm presenting to the board or I'm talking to my executive colleagues, I'm getting hammered nonstop and they're saying, Daryl, what's the ROI you got on pay-per-click? Daryl, what's the ROI you got on that trade show? Daryl, justify for us the spend you're making on our tech stack. Like, I'm getting hammered. And yet we, as marketers, we don't measure our own ROI on social. And according to Gartner, it's the second biggest spend any marketing organization makes behind paid media. And so when you saw those stats, it was just mind-blowing. I had no idea. So that's it. I want to open it up that way with Teresa by saying I'm shocked and I'm like, I don't know. I'm gobsmacked.
I think shocked is the right word because you'll see we've got some slides. We did a co-research project with Promethean Research, which is a agency-focused research firm. And we went into it, which you're not supposed to do with data. We went into it with some assumptions, and we had to label these as shockers because they were absolutely pulling in the data, and it is jaw-dropping. It is shocking. And now you mentioned some of the stats that came from our internal research. We also did a ton of external research. We talked to clients, we talked to non-clients, we did interviews, we did surveys, and many shockers. We tried to focus on 3 of them. This first one, I cannot wait to hear you, because I don't think you and I have had a chance to talk about this yet. But
we haven't.
This shocker number 1 was just all the many different ways that people defined engagement, and then if it is engagement, and I'm assuming engagement is important, how they're actually measuring that engagement. So I'll throw this stat up there for you. Again, the definition of engagement went from likes and shares, which we've all heard, in many circles called vanity metrics. But that was listed as engagement. And then we had other people that said no, sales were engagement. So there was a very disparate view of what that meant. And then even more shocking was if these things are important, how rarely they're getting measured. So you can see that what we define as business impact or important business metrics, which would be sales, leads, and visitor behaviors, all the things you outlined in your video, 24%, which is a shocker.
There's so much to unpack here, Teresa. So I could fill our whole time slot with this, but let's just unpack it a little bit. And I've got the slide here, so I can quote the numbers. So poor Nathaniel doesn't have to keep going back and forth on the slide. But where do I start? So okay, I'm looking at the numbers here, and 50% sometimes measure, 50% Sometimes measure. I just want to stop there for a second.
Yeah.
Your marketers, we measure everything, because let me put it to you in candid terms, okay? Right now, we're in an uncertain economy. Let's start with that. We're in an uncertain economy. And so companies are getting a little nervous. So what do companies do? They go, okay, we have fixed costs, which is our staffing costs. And then we have optional costs called our program spend, pay-per-click, social media, trade shows, etc. The first place they cut is on that discretionary spend, that campaign spend, that program spend, because nobody wants to cut people. That's way too personal. Okay. So that means the first place they're going to cut is on the marketing budget, because marketing is really the only team that has that discretionary spend in a company. Everybody else are just people costs. So marketers, do you want to lose your budget? Because if you don't measure and don't show them an ROI, you're going to lose your budget. That's the first thing. Now, let's flip it around. Teresa, you're our agency expert here at Agorapulse. I had my own agency for 10 years. I know that this conversation always happened. We started off by saying, yeah, if you engage me, we're going to change the world. I'm going to put you on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. You're going to be on CNN. You're going to be a household name. You're just going to go through the roof because of that. And then fast forward 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and the customer's saying to you, okay, I've been spending all this money, large sums of money on you every single month. I know we talked about what we're going to accomplish, but and we have got some likes and shares. Our engagement has gone up, but we really haven't seen that result in more revenue for us. And I'm getting pressure to reduce my spend. So help me understand, give me something to work with to not cut you loose, Miss Agency, because you're a big spend and my financial people have a bullseye on your head. Help me understand that. As an agency owner, you never want to hear that. You never, ever, ever want to hear it, because that's churn. And if you lose that client, now all of a sudden you're looking at your own expenses and going, I'm not hitting my margins. I got too much overhead now because I lost some anchor clients, all because I couldn't prove the value of what I do. Because engagement, while good for branding, means nothing to the bottom line unless you can measure it.
Right, but who wants to go into that meeting? Who wants to go into a gunfight with a penknife? I mean, if you going into that discussion where you're on the line because your client is trying to cut expenses or your boss is trying to cut expenses, why would you go into that meeting with some likes and some comments? I mean, it's just right. You're bringing paper mache to a battle. The numbers that are going to matter, the numbers that are going to protect your team, like you said. Show me where you're making me money. At least make enough money to justify the spend. I mean, right. At a minimum.
And what's going to happen is this was going to happen. The agency or the marketer, if it's a right. independent company, they're going to show the stats. Here's Google Analytics. Look at our engagement numbers across all these different platforms: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. They're all on the hockey curve. Life is great. That's what they're going to show you. And then the bean counters, or the executives who are the economic sponsors of your budget or of your engagement, they're going to say, yeah, I admit, you guys have done a great job there. But again, I haven't seen a change in our revenue. I haven't seen that similar hockey stick. I've not even seen a noticeable curve increase. So as much as I liked the engagement, you are still an expense to me. And when that happens, there's this awkward silence. Yeah. And the reality is, Teresa, is that I see 2 reasons for this. I would love your thoughts. Yeah. Reason number 1 is that most social media people and many senior marketing executives don't understand the effort it has historically taken to track this. Making a UTM code for every single type of post and campaign is time consuming. So they say, I don't have time. I can't move fast enough. So that's their excuse. But what blows my mind is this stat: 24% of agencies never measure sales, leads, and visitor behavior. Like, I'm just going to be candid again. Why? And here's my question.
Okay.
If I'm an agency, I'm going to want to measure this myself. And if the numbers aren't great, sure, I may not proactively put it in front of my client. I'm going to hold that back. But if the numbers are great, I'm going to put it in front of my client because I'm going to say, you pay me X dollars and look at the revenue I just generated. Imagine if you pay me X times 2 or X times 3, how much more money I can make for you. So that is a wonderful vehicle. We talked about churn. It's a wonderful vehicle for these agency owners and leaders to grow accounts.
Right.
And to keep the competition at bay, because every agency knows there's another agency knocking on your customer's door saying, I can do what your current vendor's doing, your current provider's doing for less money. And they make it a price game. And the only way you're going to combat price if you can show the impact on revenues, margins, market share, etc.
And if you do have these numbers, what a slam dunk. Because who are you going to go with? Are you going to go with the guy that says, hey, all the promises like you talked about, I promise I can do this, I promise can do this. But if the next guy comes in and says, hey, I can prove it. Here are the numbers. Here's what I did. It's not even a contest. So yes.
It's not a contest.
Yeah, it's not even a contest at that point. You've now lost your client to the guy that could produce the numbers. And like you said, if you can produce the numbers, now you not only have an angle to stay, you have an angle to increase your budgets. And that's the move. That's the position you want to be in when you go into that meeting. That's the strong position.
Right. Now, Teresa, I'll tell you this right now. And I know you know this, and I know we're going to get to this, but there's a lot of people who will disagree with what we're saying. And they're probably yelling at the screen right now, especially at me and referring to my stupid beard and my stupid glasses. And I don't know what the hell's going on. So hold tight. We're going to represent your point of view. But that's shocker number 1. Do you want to do shocker number 2 or what do you want to do?
Sure, let's do shocker number 2 because there's plenty of shockers to go around. So shocker number 2 was how many of them said, we know we should be doing this, but we're not doing it. That was a huge shocker. We thought if they weren't doing it, then they didn't know. I think that's the definition of cognitive dissonance. They know they should be doing it, but they're not actually doing it. And so then, of course, our follow-up question was, why? Why aren't you doing this? So not having the right tools to do it was the biggest, that's not a shock. They don't have the right tools to do it. And as you mentioned, this is a time-consuming, laborious prospect. Tracking with the UTM codes, while the right thing to do, is very time consuming as it stands right now. Lack of knowledge was another big one, and lack of a team member assigned to do it. So no bandwidth on the team, basically. So those things are less surprising than the fact that they know they should be doing it, but they're not actually doing it.
All right. So let's look at the stats. Again, I'll share them with you. And while we're doing that, my good friend Nathaniel, if you're paying attention and not sleeping back there, if you could throw my LinkedIn banner up there because I'm going to tie it all together for you. So here's the scoop. All right, we're looking at the stats. We have 37% do not have the right tools and 35% lack knowledge on how to do it. So I'm going to round, and that's close to 75% of the people we polled either do not have the right tools or lack the knowledge. I'm going to tell you right now, that's my fault. As a CMO, that's my fault. As an agency owner, that's your fault. And I'm not saying that to be malicious, to be harsh, to offend you. It is our responsibility to equip our team to succeed. And it's our responsibility to equip them with the knowledge they need to do their job. That's just, it's in the guidebook. You become a leader, that's what you do. But I get it. And what's amazing about this is when I say it's my fault, like I'll tell you a story that'll make this all relevant. If you go to my LinkedIn right now, you'll see a post I did today where in it, I share a story where I said, before I accepted the job, I physically talked to a number of my colleagues and I said, and they're all CMOs. They're not social media managers or technicians. And I said, can I ask you a question? Do you care? Like, do you know right now, if I were to ask you top of mind, what's the social media platform, management platform that you're using right now? half knew the answer, half were like, oh, I think we use Agorapulse. I'm not sure, or whatever the vendor was. So my point being, half didn't know. And then I said the next question. I'm like, did you influence your team at all on the choice of platform selected to achieve your goals? Or did you simply say, here's my budget, go pick a platform that you like and makes you happy? I don't care. They're all the same. And overwhelmingly, I got that answer back. And it's my fault because that was exactly my answer too. Upon reflection, that was wrong. We equipped for example, I equipped my team with a marketing automation platform. I got them training. I explained to them, we need this so we can integrate all of our processes, so we can have a single source of truth, and we can measure everything, and we can share the information with everybody else. Let me get you certified, and away we go. I educated my team on, Google Data Studio for the exact same reason. So we understand the traffic going on in our paid media spend. But we abdicated our responsibility when it comes to social media. And because of that, our own team, our employees had no incentive, had no motivation, had no inclination to go and say, can you train me on this? There's better tools out there. That was it. So I look at this, the difference between knowing and doing, not having the right tools being the biggest obstacle, but also lacking the knowledge, that's on us. What I will tell you is this. It is a pain in the ass. The UTM codes creation sucks. That's why everybody's avoiding it. But there are tools out there now that will make your life a lot easier. And we got there's two options I'm going to point you to. So I'll do the requisite plug. You know what's coming. Agorapulse has a social ROI feature. We launched it back in March at Social Media World. You can get a demo, check it out, kick the tires. If you don't like it, that's fine. But you don't have to do that, because we've also got a cool course. And Teresa, I'll pass it back to you. Talk to us about the cool course that people can get access to.
Well, Chris Penn is known through the industry as being like the data guy. So the fact that we were able to get him to do this for us is huge. So what's even better about it is it's not going to cost anything. So no matter how small or how big your team is, you can get everybody trained on this course on our dime. So it's a multi-part series. There's notes, there's takeaways, there's tools that go with it. So it's very robust. It's going to give you all the basics, and it's going to solve that. It's going to solve for that knowledge piece. I do think, like you talked about, Daryl, there are tools. We have one that make that life, make that part of your life easier. But even if you don't have that tool, this Chris Penn workshop will give you the basics you need to get started on this process, so you're not part of that contingency that's left behind as this becomes more and more used in the industry.
That's it. And I'll tell you this, so Chris Penn is a legend, right? So he's not related to Agorapulse at all. We simply worked with him to create this course. There's no call to action in the course. We're not going to tell you to go buy Agorapulse. In fact, the course is the opposite. It's going to actually teach you how to do it with your existing tools if you never, ever, ever bought Agorapulse. So there's that. So, but I talk a lot, Teresa. So I don't know how we're doing on time and schedule. What do you want to do next?
I think we're going to talk about shocker number 3, because why not round it all out? Shocker number 3, which I think is one that you've already kind of talked about. So the stat won't be that shocking to everybody because it's a stat we've already talked about, just the volume of the missed opportunity. So, these are numbers that Emmerich said from the stage at Social Media Marketing World. These are, if you want to go back and see him make that presentation again, he actually did it during the Paris recording if you want to see it again. But these are the stats. This is what we found in our own tool. 1.8% of the posts being done are able to be tracked for any kind of measurable business impact, which is absolutely shocking. So, so of all the shockers, this was the big one. And what that means is 98% of these posts are overhead. To our earlier conversation, they have not moved even if they moved the ball, as far as the CMO is concerned, when he starts slashing budgets, it didn't move the ball at all. 98% did nothing for the bottom line. So this is, yeah, and that is a shocker right there. So that's shocker number 3. I think we've really covered that. I mean, what do you do when you're this guy and you're looking at 98% of your posts going nowhere, doing nothing? I mean,
I think what you do is you say, okay, epiphany moment, that's bad, but that's okay, because that's then and this is now, and moving forward, we should fix that. And that's the whole point. I'm not trying to preach to anybody or chastise anybody. I've already said to you, I'm as guilty as all of these shockers. I'm a moron. Even in my LinkedIn post, I literally said, I am a moron. But knowledge is power, and we can move forward and kick some ass. And again, with the uncertain economy we have right now, like now's the time to go and do that.
Yes.
So that's just my point of view.
Absolutely.
But
we're not behind yet. You're not behind yet. You can still get ahead of this. I don't think anybody's behind. I think you can still get ahead of it if you get on it now. You can't wait. You can't sit on it anymore. It's not going to pass. The numbers are here. You need
Teresa, we talked about this. I mean, not everybody agrees. They see the numbers, but they don't agree that this is an issue.
Right.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Neil Patel is the one that blew the light bulb on for me. He had this great conversation that he and Emmerich had about measuring social media. It was a very candid, off the cuff discussion between the two of them. I don't have the link to that, but if you guys want to contact me, I'll make sure that you get it. If you want to watch that interview, it was amazing. But he had one line in there that really blew my mind. And Emmerich pressed him and said, why aren't they doing this? And Neil kind of, talked a little bit, and Emmerich held his feet to the fire a little bit and said, why? Why aren't they doing this? And Neil said something I'll never forget. He said, they don't want a number on their head. And that was eye-opening, and it made a lot of sense. I mean, I have a lot of compassion for that. I think that one of the other stats we had was only 1 in 4 leaders are even asking for this information. So if you get ahead of it, you're gonna be a rock star. If you can get ahead of it, you can be a rock star, but you have to have the right attitude. I think that's what we figured out was you have to accept that this is the new reality, and you have to be willing to change. And if you can do that, then you can still get ahead of this. If you look at that last slide that we had, Nathaniel, it just shows you kind of some of the differences in responses we've got to this message. And you can see it goes all the way from, I think there's one more, the next one, hopefully. Yeah. Oh no, go back another one. Yeah, there it is right here. Yeah, this is some examples of agency feedback that we've gotten from this topic. And you've got, the person on the left that said, this really got my attention. I ran right to my boss with it. We've got to start doing this right away. And another agency's response to this, the exact same content was, I understand it, but this is a conversation I would rather die than have with my clients. So this is it. This is where people are going to pick their poison. They're going to continue to put their head in the sand. They're going to continue to believe that their buggy whip sales are going to go on forever, and buggies will never go out of style, and you'll always need buggy whips. Or they can realize that this is where things are going, that trillions of dollars in commerce is not going to go untrackable. That's not going to be allowed. That's never going to happen. We are going to have to get better at this. And you can either see the writing on the wall, you can either make that move, you can either get ahead of it, or you can be left behind. I think that's really the choices here.
Those are some bold statements. So what do you, because I heard you say, buggy whip, get left behind. But if someone's online yelling at you, as opposed to yelling at me, they were yelling at me a while ago. They're yelling at you now, and they're saying, this is bull crap. This is wrong. We only care about engagement. That's all our clients care about, engagement. That's what I communicate to my clients is about engagement. Are they wrong? Are they wrong? Is it only about engagement? And is it a good business decision to not bring this up? I know you think they're wrong, but if that's all their clients are asking for.
Right. I totally understand. I maybe I should have had more empathy in that. I understand the desire to put this off as long as possible. I truly do. If I didn't say it, I have absolute compassion. It is a tough position to be in. You're talking about changing your basic business functions to do something different that you've ever done before, and for something that people are not asking for. But I think where the buggy whip comment comes into play and putting your head in the sand comes into play is there is no avoiding this. They might not be asking for it today, but they are going to be asking for it. It is coming. So you can either be the hero that brings this to their attention and puts these numbers into your pitches and hands these numbers to your bosses ahead of the curve, or you can be the guy that he comes knocking on your door and he says, hey, I just went to a conference. They said we can have these numbers. Where are they? So you can pick which guy you want to be. Do you want to be the hero on the front end bringing this to the table? Or do you want to be the guy that your COO has to come knock on the door and ask for it?
I'm going to throw something crazy out there.
Okay.
For the agencies, especially. If you measure this and the numbers aren't good, that's your fear, right? I don't want to go there. I don't want to measure because that reflects back on me. As a CMO myself, if you were my agency, if I had hired you, if you came to me and said, Daryl, you're spending X, simple number, you're spending $50,000 a month with us, whatever the number is. And Daryl, we're not making a lot of revenue impact. We're kicking ass on the engagement and the branding. But, I think with a different campaign, we could also make an impact on the revenue. Did you want to give us $75,000 a month and add an incremental? And just for maybe 3 to 6 months, we'll do an A/B test. All right. Because we know this is where the world's going. And it's a safe way for you to experiment. And if it doesn't work, then we pull back after 3 or 6 months back to the $50,000 a month. And Bob's your uncle. There you go. So I would view you as a trusted advisor.
Oh, yeah.
And I would rather, and for you, you're controlling the message to me because the last thing you want is for me to find that and challenge you on it. Whereas you control the message and bring it to my attention, then I feel like we're truly in this together. And I understand that it wasn't working well. It wasn't working well. So anything we do after this is going to be gravy, it's going to be bonus. And we can do a lot of A/B testing, which is where you're really good at as an agency. I'm not really good at that. Different creatives, different audience targeting, whatever it might be. To me, that's why I hired you. That's value. That's huge value. You're holding my hand. But that's just me. I think it's a strategic weapon. But if you don't believe me, pick one client and try this and see what happens.
Right. Well, I think too, you can even, if you get these numbers, the way that we have it built into the tool, if you get these numbers, you're able to be even take that conversation with your client or with your boss even more granular, because you can say, hey, this campaign that I pushed you really hard to do that nobody wanted to do, it moved the ball. But this other campaign didn't move the ball. So now give me more money for campaigns like this. So I think that's another powerful way that this can be used, is to steer the ship and steer the budget and steer the narrative towards things that are more productive, that are more likely to give you personal professional success, and then, the organization success.
So everybody came here and said, I thought I was going to learn about the latest and greatest, what's going on Instagram or TikTok or everything else. And all we've talked about is ROI. Boy, we suck, Teresa. I blame you. But with that said, I mean, again, I'll go back to the economy. This is the time to be doing it.
Right.
Folks, I will throw up, I'd be at awful CMO if I didn't remind you that we're streaming to you live on YouTube, and we've got a lot of great content. So I'm going to ask you a personal favor. If you like this, go subscribe now. But don't just subscribe. Nay, hit the bell so that you are notified every single time Teresa goes online and uses her bug and whip analogy. So there you go. Hit the bell as well. There we go. Now look at that, Nathaniel. As there's no space, as well is not one word. You messed that up. Real time. Now you know it's real.
I would be more likely to believe that Nathaniel was right than that was wrong. So just so you know.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. So we have got on deck Amanda, who's from our customer success team. Amanda's gonna come on and talk a little bit about what this transition looks like. Because again, as we've talked about, change is hard. Change, the potential to upset the apple cart. Thanks, Daryl. If you're gone now, thank you, Daryl. It was awesome having you. Appreciate it. So Amanda Wade is here. Amanda is a customer success manager for the US. And she has brought with her some information about what it takes to transition to Agorapulse from whatever you're doing. So this is just good information to help you understand what's at stake is the wrong, but what's involved in the process. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We have some slides.
Yes.
That we can put up.
And hello, everyone.
And that's Amanda. Amanda, say hello to your millions
Happy
of fans.
Social Media Day.
And we've got slide number 2. Nathaniel, we can start on that slide, I believe. And we're just going to go through really quick, kind of demystify the process, make it less scary. I think that when people think about moving social media tools, they are overwhelmed at the idea that this is just going to be an impossible lift. And it's not, because Amanda, you and your team are here to make it awesome so they can get all of the upgrades with none of the hassle. So take it away.
Perfect. Thanks, Teresa. So first things first is obviously timeline. That's going to be a super important thing for everybody involved in this situation. So speaking of that part, I do want to talk about the team that's going to be involved. So typically when you're looking at social media tools, the main people you want involved in the process is going to be somebody from billing, just because obviously billing is going to be involved. Social media admins, so that everything can get connected and in the correct way. And then also just the day-to-day end users as well. So the people that will be in there, the people that will be publishing, handling community management, analyzing reports, just because everybody from that core group really needs to be on the same page and know what to expect when moving either from native platforms or from another tool to, say, Agorapulse. Now, this is going to come up a lot when we have these conversations because every team's different. The bandwidth of your team could be totally different. The complexity that you're handling umpteen different profiles could be totally different as well. So we could also look at bringing in the marketing and sales ops people, the data teams, if you have one, an IT team, and then also maybe just sales in general. So yeah, that's kind of just the team in general to think about. In terms of timelines, definitely don't want to scare anybody on this one. Again, that does go back to the complexity that you're dealing with. So if you're just, let's say, managing a few profiles for your individual brand, it's going to be very self-service. So it's super easy. We try to keep it easy between just the general user experience and making sure that that transition is not a scary thing for people. So for smaller teams, definitely within a matter of days, this could be handled. Larger, more complex teams, depending upon how many things you're managing and how many members you have joining the tool, that could be a different story, obviously. But again, don't want to scare anybody away because we will be backing you the entire time. So even before maybe you sign up, we might get involved just to help you know that you have that person and you can put a face to the name. And then, like I said, we'll be with you every step of the way going through that process. So going from a matter of days with smaller, less complex organizations, and then looking at potentially a few weeks, maybe just of involving us and your team in order to get more complex organizations up and running.
Okay. And I have to say, I want to remind people too, that sometimes the people that you mentioned can be all the same person.
Yes.
Depending on how complex you are, there might be one guy handling it all, or it could be like you talked about, a teams of people. So, whatever your situation is, what we're going to do is basically fill that in and meet you right where you are to make the process as painless as possible. On that slide, we also talked about, I think the next thing down was the data and the training, which is also super important. I know data is a big deal for people. Tell us, Amanda, how do you guys manage that? How do you help social media managers let go of one hand and take the next hand? That's
Right.
a key thing.
Right. And I know you brought it up before, but change is difficult no matter what the scenario may be. So this is no different than that. But with data, obviously, this is an important topic for everybody. You don't want to lose things. You want something backed up in your new tool as soon as you get there. So what we look at doing is I have 2 suggestions for people when it comes to changing tools or processes here. So one, the ideal scenario would be keep your current tool for maybe a month and have that overlap between that tool and Agorapulse. And the main reason we say or suggest that would be just to make sure everything's all loose ends are tied up on your old tool, and then you can start anew with the new tool. So what that would do is basically anything that you're scheduling, keep that same timeline within the old tool. Make sure that you have a good cutoff date, and then begin scheduling new items in Agorapulse. Because what's going to happen is ultimately you're going to have to disconnect and, like I said, let go, cut the rope from the other tool. And then you're going to go into Agorapulse and you're going to connect those profiles there. So when that happens, obviously nothing that was scheduled in the previous tool is going to transfer over, just to be totally aware of that. What will happen though is as soon as you connect those profiles to Agorapulse, we're going to backdate 30 days worth of data. So you'll still see everything that was already published. So no fear there. You'll be able to keep track of all of that and make sure the team's on board and everybody can see the work that they still put in. And then obviously once you start scheduling through Agorapulse, all that will be within our tool as well. And that goes the same for reports. So you're going to have 30 days worth of data already in there from the time that you connect those profiles to Agorapulse. So in the scenario where you do have that simultaneous overlap between the two tools, you're going to have basically 2 months of data because that month that you were, exactly. The month that you were working with that previous tool, you'll have that data backdated, and then the additional month.
Right, which is brilliant. And depending on what your comfort level is as an agency, you can have that overlap be as long as you want. I mean, if your comfort level is, I got to have at least a quarter's worth, you can make that happen under that scenario, which is super, super smart. What about now you've got everything set up, you got your billing all done, you got your profiles all connected, you got the data situated. Now you got to get everybody to use it. How am I going to get everybody trained? Depending on how complex my team is, this could be a nightmare.
No nightmare. For sure.
Nightmare.
This is my favorite part. No, we will, again, be with you every step of the way here, especially when it comes to educating you on how to use the tool. And not even that, but also how to best use it for your team specifically. So we offer a variety of training options depending, again, upon the complexity level of your organization. So it could be anything from a webinar that we have available to anybody so they can just hop in there, go to the parts that matter most to them. Or we can have you join a custom training with one of our CSMs. So that's great. And that's, again, going to be more relevant for those more complex organizations. And then we also have a great certification program. I know you guys were talking about the Chris Penn one, but we also have one dedicated to Agorapulse to help you kind of go through the entire tool. There'd be little tips and tricks in there. And it is a certification program. So you get a nice little badge at the end of it. We invest in you learning more about not only Agorapulse, but also social media. So we've got you covered on the training aspect for sure.
And that is such a hurdle to get over mentally. So such a reassurance to be able to have that. Now, if I'm coming new into Agorapulse and I hear you've got a customer support team, and I hear you've got this customer success team, and I've heard customer support is like number one in the business. Agorapulse's customer support is hands down G2 Capterra approved, some of the best in the business, or the best in the business. And then we've got this customer success team that you're on. So give everybody just like a little sampling of what would be the difference between the two teams.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, a topic that comes up a lot nowadays, that more and more companies are introducing customer success teams. So customer support, they're going to be there for you with any questions you may have. Say, if you're having trouble getting your Instagram account connected, they will be available via chat and email, or maybe if a post doesn't go out on the expected time, they're there to help you with things along that line. Also just technical items in general. So they're great for that. The response time is excellent. Will help you with anything that you have those specific questions on. Whereas the success side of it, and my team that I am a part of, we focus as the name says, on your success. So we'll be there for educating you on the tool. We'll be there to talk about ways that you're going to utilize it through your team, and to help you build success based off of that. Now, it may not just be in terms of success with the tool. We do want to look at it also from more of an advisory role and looking at your business goals and how you can achieve that. Now, of course, we're going to work in how you can achieve that with AgoraPulse because the tool was made to help you. So, and ultimately deciding how happy our customers are and making sure that everything is all set for you.
Good. And I have to say, like, I'm a little biased because I know our teams personally, but what a wonderful group of people. And I see them over and over and over again go above and beyond to make sure that support is right there when they need it. So
definitely. One other thing to mention, we are global teams. So no matter where you're located, your company, your agency, whatever it may be, we're there for you. So the support team is all across the globe. So they're at it no matter what time of day you happen to be working. We know social media never stops. So they're there.
No, that's a good reminder. I'm glad you mentioned that, Amanda, because it is nice. It is nice to have that global coverage because a lot of companies and a lot of agencies, they themselves are global.
Right.
They're not just doing business from themselves. So to have that support available globally is awesome. So we've talked about this whole process, which I really do believe is one of the reasons why we have such happy customers that love us so much. There is definitely an AgoraPulse fan club out there of people who have been with the other tools, that stay with AgoraPulse, that come to AgoraPulse from other places because we do such a good job of not only meeting their needs in the moment, but anticipating their needs with new features and new trends and all the support and training that they could hope for. But we have an actual customer success story that we're going to put in here now, and we're going to just give you a real life example. Don't just take it from us. Take it from a client who's been there, who's been through this process, and can tell you what their experience has been.
I actually can't say enough great things about the reporting with AgoraPulse. I feel like that is my job security every month. My clients aren't that active on social media, which is why they have me manage their profiles for them. And when they get that report, it verifies that they're making a good investment.
The metrics downloads are so simple and easy to read, and it really helps me show where we are doing things right on social and where we need to improve.
So I think one of the main reasons why we decided to move to AgoraPulse is because it's a more comprehensive, integrated tool for all of our marketing needs. So rather than what we have had to do historically with Sprout, which is use certain parts of that platform that work really well and then supplement it with other outside tools, by moving to AgoraPulse, we were able to keep all of that into one technology platform, which is not only a time saver, but it also makes sure that our analytics and all of our reporting's on point because we're pulling all from the same source.
I am Ann Popolizio, and I am the owner of Social Squib. We're a boutique digital marketing agency specializing in social media, Facebook advertising, and organic social media. I chose AgoraPulse for a few key reasons. I think the primary reason was the robustness of their reporting and the analytics that they have. It's a really great platform for agencies. It makes it really easy to manage a team that's doing multiple layers of scheduling, approval. It's a simple tool to use, but gives me really, really, really robust information that actually helps me develop better strategies for my clients and better plans of action. I've used Hootsuite, I've used Sprout Social. I'm much happier with the functionality and the reporting of AgoraPulse.
Hi, I'm Jessica Phillips with Now Marketing Group. We're a relationship marketing agency, works with clients across the U.S. and abroad, and we help them maximize repeat and referral business. So reducing churn, keeping that customer for the long term. Yeah, so it's not just me, it's me and a team of account managers that are working with several brands, and they're helping them maximize the opportunities on social media. And we needed a tool that would allow us to schedule some of the day-to-day posts and then give us more time for engagement and the real-time content that we want to push out. So we needed a tool that could help us both with maximizing the scheduling, knowing the times to post, but then also for us and doing our due diligence of telling the clients how it's working, a reporting tool that we could give back to them and say, here's where you're getting your value, here's the kinds of content that's working, and in a way that made sense to them, because some of the jargon that's used in Insights doesn't make sense. So something that was like appealing and good to look at, that was in graph form, that they could see how their social media ROI is performing. We were using like 4 and 5 tools at times to kind of get it all done, so to speak. So it was very challenging. One would change and then you have to learn it again. And we were using one for the reporting, one for scheduling, another one for monitoring, and then one for, kind of keeping content notes on the customer. So it became really challenging. We were trying to try out several different platforms. And when I heard about Agora Pulse, I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. But I was not hopeful at first because I just heard all the promises before until I did the 30-day trial and then fell in love with it. We were able to cancel all the other tools that we were using, moved all of our clients over there. They worked with us, they helped train us on how to get everything up and going, and we were able to cancel out all the other tools that we didn't need anymore. So it saved us a lot of time and a lot of headache for my team members, as they're, now they only have one tool that they can maximize their clients in.
Amanda, we have so much to be proud of. I mean, that's such a great video, and I know you see a lot of that client love on the front, in your day-to-day job.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. I envy you a little bit for that. That's really good. So I appreciate you being with us today. I appreciate you helping us celebrate Social Media Day, maybe demystifying the process of changing for some people that are watching. And thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Back to the trenches. All right. So this is Social Media Day, celebrated by Agora Pulse. We're in our last few minutes. We're asking ourselves, what do we do now? We've listened to all the content from the day. We've heard all the speakers. We've heard Emmerich talk. We've heard Daryl talk. We've had all these great ideas put forward. Now what? What do we do next? So if you want to become an expert at your craft, we are here for it. We have tools and content that's going to be that bridge to get you to where you want to go. In no particular order, we have got a demo that's on the screen now that you can take. If any of this was interesting to you, if you do want to find out more about Agora Pulse as a social media management platform, sign up for that demo. I encourage you to do that. There's also a free trial. So if you want to do either of those things, that's a good spot that's not a bad spot to start. If you want to level up with your knowledge, we have got so many things for you. We have the Chris Penn workshop that we talked about. We have an ebook coming out, this incredible master document on how to succeed at social media. That ebook is out. We have the white paper that a lot of the content you saw today was based upon. That was a research project with Promethean Research. So shout out to them. That white paper and an associated roundtable are coming out soon. We've also got all of the streams from today's Social Media Day. So please, not only should you go back and watch the ones if you didn't get to watch them all, but forward them on to your friends that might find them interesting. Again, there's a ton of topics in there that at least will spawn some good conversations. We've got this YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay on top of the content that we're producing all the time to make your lives easier. That's what we do, and we want to make sure that we can get that into your hands. We've also got Agora Pulse on all the social channels. Jump into those social channels. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow us on Facebook. Tons of Facebook groups for you to participate in. And then the big coup de grace, the big Social Media Pulse community. If you ever wanted anything, any way to connect with your peers, this is the ultimate spot for that. And not to mention all the education that's available for there. I'm also going to tease out the Agency Love Learning Hub. That's where you'll find the Chris Penn workshop. That's another source of content that could be helpful to you as you work through getting to the next level in your career, making sure that you're staying on top of all the tools and tips and trends that are shaping what we're doing. So I think that is the sum total of all the to-do next for you. I want to welcome Daryl back to close out the show with me and thank him for being here. Daryl.
So thrilled to be here, folks. All of this happens because of amazing people. So big shout outs to Nathaniel Harper, our producer on this segment. Thank you to Mike Alton and Stephanie Liu. They headed the whole process up. Aaron Desi out of the UK. Emmerich, of course, who did our opening keynote. So many great people. And if you're not following those people, you're missing out on some great content. So remember, the biggest thing about social media is the word social. Follow us. We'll follow you back. We're in it together, folks. Let's have some fun. Enjoy your social media day.
Happy Social Media Day, everybody. Thanks for spending time with us.